Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. You're watching our in-depth video review of the Motorola DROID RAZR M. It's one of the latest devices out of the DROID RAZR family, and it's going to be available shortly for a 2-year contract price of only $100, making it very affordable. Even though its pricing dictates it to be a mid-range device, it's sporting some high-end specs like a dual-core Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 processor, 4G LTE connectivity, and a still respectable 4.3-inch QHD Super AMOLED panel. But the most impressive thing about this is just the minimal bezels around the display, making it super compact in footprint. As we take a look around the handset, it's quite obvious that the Motorola DROID RAZR M utilizes the same distinctive design elements found with previous DROID RAZRs, but as a whole, it's a lot more rounded around its sides compared to the angular cutouts from before. The cool thing about it is just that it's super compact for a device donning a 4.3-inch display, thanks to the bezel-less display right there. And on top of that, it has a fantastic construction combined with some high-quality choice materials. They didn't skimp out this guy here. It employs aircraft-grade aluminum combined with a Kevlar backing, which gives it its added strength. It's not the skinniest thing out there, but it's uniform, and overall, it's very comfortable to hold in the hand. Above all, the most impressive part about the Motorola DROID RAZR M is the almost bezel-less display it has. It's almost edge-to-edge, and honestly, we haven't seen anything like it before, so with that, it contributes in making the handset extremely compact in overall size, and it's almost remarkable to know that this is a device packing a 4.3-inch display. Sure, there are 720p displays out there. It's pretty much the norm for high-end devices, and with its QHD resolution, it's not going to really impress that many people, especially with a pentile matrix arrangement in place, but nevertheless, it's more than adequate for making out fine details like the icons here in the app panel and even in the web browser. And finally, of course, seeing that it is Super AMOLED panel, has all the distinctive elements that we love about it: wide viewing angles, high contrast, and of course those deep, luscious-looking colors that really help to capture attention. And even in outdoor usage, we're able to make it out, though every now and then it still requires some shielding away from the sun. It's almost hard to see it, but there is an earpiece right below the Motorola name right there. Nearby, you have also the front-facing VGA camera, while in the top left corner, you have the LED notification light. On the left side phone, you have the micro USB port, only for charging data connectivity. It doesn't offer any video out functionality. And behind this plastic flap, you have actually the micro SIM card slot and the micro SD slot as well. The only item on top is just the 3.5mm headset jack. Well, on the right side phone, you have the dedicated power button, the volume control. The dedicated power buttons are raised a little bit higher, but they're still more than responsive. And finally, in the rear, you have the 8-megapixel autofocus camera with the single LED flash, ability to shoot 1080p videos. Next to it is the speaker grill, and just like the other DROID RAZRs before it, there's no access to the battery, so for the average Joe, you're going to need to have it sent in for service. Out of the box, the handset's running Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, but it's worth noting that Motorola plans to have an upgrade to Jelly Bean before the end of the year, meaning if you're going to buy this handset right now, you'll have peace of mind knowing that's going to come eventually. As for the Android experience on here, the custom one, nothing really new just because it's the same exact one in play with the Motorola HX HD over an AT&T, but for Verizon customers, it should be a little bit new, especially the circles widget right here. You can interact with the circles, you get specific details with the clock, the time, the temperature, weather conditions, battery life, and the settings. Beyond that, though, it's not as comprehensive compared to some of the other custom experience out there, like Samsung's TouchWiz Nature UX, or even HTC Sense, but nevertheless, you have all the rich personalization aspects of Android intact. Don't be fooled by its price point. Just because the DROID RAZR M packs a respectable processor in the 1.5 GHz dual-core Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 processor that's coupled with 1 GB of RAM, so it's the same one used by many of the other popular devices out there in the market, and it simply translates in providing a really fast performance. Even with the live wallpaper right now, you could tell moving about the home screen here, very instantaneous and quick. Other basic tasks such as opening up applications, pinch zooming, kinetic scrolling, it is just wickedly responsive. And the benchmark scores also show that, and overall, it rarely showed off any evidence of lagging or slowing down. Even with its 4.3-inch display, it's more than sufficient for typing up messages on, just because of the spaciousness of the keyboard here. You have two options. You have the Motorola keyboard, or you could either use the swipe keyboard, but both are more than usable. Reasonable size buttons, on top of that, super responsive, so it's able to keep up with our rated input. And overall, we didn't have any issues using it. Gone now is the Android web browser from yesterday, and instead the Motorola DROID RAZR M is the first smartphone to come preloaded with Google's Chrome browser. Sure, it doesn't have Flash support, but nevertheless it still manages to provide a really great web browsing experience. Fluid pinch gestures, nice smooth kinetic scrolling, even complex web pages handles very easily. And of course the best part about it is just 4G LTE connectivity for fast page loads. We managed to get as much as 30 megabits per second both upload and download. Out of the box, there are quite a few preloaded third-party apps on board with the handset. These include things like Amazon, Amazon Kindle, Amazon MP3. The Amazon App Store, you have Color, you have IMDb application, you have NFL Mobile, the Quick Office application, Slacker Radio, Viewdini, and of course some of the Verizon applications like VZ Navigator, Verizon, My Verizon Mobile, and of course Verizon Apps. Once again, the Motorola Smart Actions applications makes an appearance here on the DROID RAZR M. It's especially useful for those who love complete control for their handset. So if you're a type of person who wants to optimize the battery or just have a better grasp of your smartphone, how you use it, this is something that you're going to appreciate just because you could customize certain triggers to execute various functions. So on top of just saving power, you could just tailor everything to meet your demands and needs. As we've said already, the Motorola DROID RAZR M doesn't really use as many of the Motorola applications like before, and it's especially noticeable here with the music player, just because now it relies only on the Google Play Music application. Still has a nice presentation interface. As far as the audio quality, it's not the strongest out there. Average tones, kind of neutral side. You do have some equalizer settings to better enhance its quality. So as we go into the gallery application, you'll notice that just because before with the Motorola DROID RAZRs, the RAZR from last year and the RAZR Max, the interface for the gallery is a little bit different. As far as playing videos, it supports a variety of different codecs, DivX, MPEG-4, H.264, XVID, and the one we have here playing is encoded in DivX 1920 by 1080 resolution. And of course, thanks to its brilliant looking 4.3-inch display, it definitely makes for a fantastic experience. Very smooth with its playback, and of course it's just the high contrast and just the deep saturated colors that really makes it very compelling to watch. When it comes to taking photos though with the handset, the interface hasn't changed from the previous DROID RAZRs from last year. The UI is basically unchanged, and unfortunately though it's kind of lacking in the manual control department. There are some effects that you could use, but not quite as extensive compared to some of its rivals out there. No doubt it's far from being perfect, but with its 8-megapixel autofocus camera, I still wouldn't mind using it on some occasions. The biggest thing is just details. It's very soft looking and it doesn't have that sharp appearance that we like. Colors remain on the neutral side, but in low lighting conditions it has a lot of noise and graininess, diminishes overall quality. Luckily the LED flash is effective enough to light up the scenery. Likewise, we could say the same thing about its 1080p video recording quality. It's likable enough to accept, especially for those candid moments. It shoots at 30 frames per second, so it's very smooth. Details still on the soft side, but luckily colors are neutral. It has gradual exposure, so it's decent enough for most times. In lower lighting conditions, of course, you tend to notice a lot more noise muddying up these shots. To tell the truth, we were pleased by the handset's calling quality just because with the earpiece, voices were distinctive and clear. We didn't have any issues on our end of the line, but our caller said that there's a little bit of distortion they can make out every now and then their end. And as we switch over to using the speakerphone, its volume output's not the strongest out there, so it could be challenging just to make out conversations. Even though we didn't have any drop calls during our usage, we do notice that when you're indoors more, it drops the 4G LTE connection and drops down to 3G, so it doesn't have as much penetration indoors, but outdoors it maintains a solid connection to the network. Packing a 2000 milliamp hour battery inside its body, it's still not quite enough to get power users by through a solid day, especially for 4G LTE connectivity. You'll get by an 8-hour work shift, but you'll need constant charging. But if you're going to be using it with mostly 3G connectivity, you expect to get that solid day of usage. It's not the prettiest or the most chiseled or even the most cutting-edge smartphone on the market, but there are a lot of key things that make the Motorola DROID RAZR M such a compelling offering. For example, it's going to be available shortly, which is great. On top of that, the 2-year contract price of $100 provides for a lot of value for the smartphone. And don't be fooled by it just because it's still packing some respectable hardware under the hood. For example, you have the Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 processor to make it a really fast performer. You have 4G LTE connectivity connectivity for fast data speeds, that sharp-looking 4.3-inch QHD Super AMOLED panel, and it's also global ready. And easily the best part about it is just the edge-to-edge, nearly bezel-less display it has to offer. It's just fascinating to know that this is a device packing a 4.3-inch display. They managed to minimize the overall footprint, making it the most compact device on the market with a 4.3-inch display. And overall, it redefines and sets the benchmark for what it means to be a mid-range device nowadays. So if you'd like to learn more about the Motorola DROID RAZR M, guys, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. This is John V. As always, thanks for watching.